Hi everybody, how you doing? Happy Tuesday. It is Tracing Roots, Telling Tales, Tuesdays, a Genealogy with Donna, episode 28. Yes, episode 28. Before I begin and let you know that the topic is spinning stories from stats, making genealogy engaging for your grandkids. In my case, maybe the great grandkids, because one of them is 15. Whew, 15. Where'd the years go? Anyway, I wanted to tell you something that I have memories that come up every once in a while that I've deliberately put in there that remind me when I was doing my tree. There are so many facts that I uncovered through different resources that are available. And of course, when I was doing this back in early, 2010, 2011, 2012, right in there, it was well, I had started it in 2002, but it was amazing the resources that are available even online. What they are now is just exponentially more. But I remind myself that my seven times great grandfather, who is James Knock, Nock, had a writing about him from 1724. And it reads as such: Reverend Hughes Adams writes in his diary, on Friday, May 1st, 1724, our worthy and desirable elder, James Knock, was most surprisingly shot from his horse dead, and scalped by three Indian enemies. Oh, that Christ Emmanuel may speedily avenge his blood upon them. From so long ago, and yet a vivid account that takes you back to that time and place. I want to, and this reminds me, and I will be putting this in my pile of things that I want to look up. I do owe you, and I said that last week, my great grandmother, Bertha. I want to find out what happened to her after she was widowed. My great uncle was 13. My my great uncle. My grandmother, I want to say maybe she's 10. She and her twin sister. Anyway, I want to know where was Bertha raised? Where was she married? I believe I know that. I just have to look on it. Where did she live after she was a widow? And when did she come to California? Now, I know she was in California when my mother was born because the house next door was being rented by her, and my mother's actually born in that house. But I owe you those explanations, and I will give them to you next week. I will make that promise. Not sure how that's going to happen, but I will. Anyway, getting to the genealogy, making it engaging for grandkids. Finding behind, I mean, right now, when we have new members of the family, the baby was born, yay. You put it in the family tree, you connect it to the parents. You say, what's the birth date? What's the sex of the child? What's the name? Make sure if there's a middle name that you put that in. And then where were they born? That pretty much takes care of it for a while. If anything happens, I try and put it in if I know that they had, special sports things, or if they did recitals or anything about the child as they grow up, and I have information, or I have pictures, I can put that in so that you have a running commentary of what they look like. And even older, I have a picture of my mother. I believe she was 9 in the front yard of her house in St. Gabriel. I've put that in. I don't have context for it, but I know that that's there and the information is correct. So past that, we do what we can so that people looking back, 2-3 generations from now will have that information. Will the way that they access it be different? Probably, but nonetheless, the digital footprint is there now. Beyond birth dates, finding the human in the headstones. Now, I do watch a channel that cleans headstones, and when he does this work, he does look up what he can find out about them, who their parents were when they came to the area, where they were born, when they came to the area, what did they do with their lives, and when did they die. Were they married? Did they have children, etc.? And interestingly enough, from that, there is an industry that actually has manufactured products that are gentle to the headstones, but extremely effective in getting the moss and the mold off of the headstones. The old ones, the ones that have been there for 100 years or more. So that's kind of cool that there's a cottage industry that has developed around just cleaning headstones. Anyway, so looking beyond the headstone, you talk about the names, the dates, and the places, and it's not just data. It begins to flesh out the story of their life. So you share how to look for the clues in the census records, draft cards, old photos, and please, if you're actually printing out photos, even if you're not, put down who is it in the photo, and if you could give a date on that and the place it was taken, you would help we genealogists so much. I can't tell you. We've gotten boxes of photos from when my mother passed away in 1988. We got boxes of photos from when Mike's dad passed away in 2002. And there are so many photos that don't have anything on it. Now, that's all great. We have a party, we invite the family, and you take out the photos and you go, okay, who recognizes somebody? And if you do, write it on the back. Don't write it so hard, write it in pencil, so you don't write it so hard that it indents the photo, but that way I can scan the photo, I can put the information on it that we know about those people, and then we can put the actual photo in an album, but at least we digitally have the footprint and we can share that with everybody. We can add it to the tree. I actually have made thumb drives to give to family members of all of the photos with all the information on it. Maybe they're not interested right now. Maybe their children are interested. Maybe they're not interested right now either, but it's still there. And when somebody does want to access it, it's available. Here's a good one. What would great grandma bake? Use food to spark curiosity. Connect with family history with recipes or food traditions. We had, and I've lost it, and I never did get the recipe, and I kind of kicked myself all over the place. My mother, and actually it started with my grandmother, and my uncle and I all liked the little bitty pearled onions, and my mother would boil them in cream, and she would serve them at Thanksgiving. The first Thanksgiving she was gone in 1988, I was like, oh, I don't have the recipe. My uncle had died previous to that. I didn't have the recipe. I had no clue. I cannot find it in the card box that I have shared earlier, the metal card box. I can't find it in that either. So I've lost that recipe, and I haven't had pearled onions. Am I harping for them? No. Is my body craving them? No. But it's just a nice comfort if I could have them. So I've lost that, and again, things that I didn't know that I didn't know, or things I didn't know that I wanted to have. So think about this when you're putting together, family traditions, family notes, family histories, that there might be things out there that you don't know, that maybe there's a resource, a sister, an aunt, an uncle, cousins that might be able to help you put together those kinds of pieces of information. And then you suggest letting the grandkids cook through the family tree and link the heritage with something they can smell, taste, and share. Create a character. Turn ancestors into storybook stars. Encourage turning an ancestor's life into a bedtime story or a comic strip. Use their real journey with immigration, war, love stories as a kid-friendly adventure. And you're systematically putting those stories into the consciousness of the children, and then they will grow up knowing those are the stories and the people that they come from. Again, might not want it right now, but later on they'll go, Mom, you used to tell me the story of, is that a real person? and then you can tell them more about what you've learned. Map it out. Show where they came from and why where they came from mattered. Show a world or U.S. map with pins and talk about the migration paths. I've talked about, and I think I did that last week or week before, my family came from New Hampshire. And they came from New Hampshire, I believe, via a train. And why do I believe that? Because Eisenhower was the one that did the freeway system, and that was in the 50s and the 60s. So the road in the 20s was not available to drive cross country like we do now. So the train was the accessible, and airplanes were not commercial at that time, I do not believe, and certainly not something that my family would do because they were used to train riding. So they used the train. So do I know whether they used South Pacific or Southern Pacific or whatever else the railroads were? I have no clue. And I don't know quite how I could go about finding that out, but I know they got here. I know they got to LA, and I know my grandfather wound up working in the industry he wanted to work in when he came here. So I've got that much information, and I'm good for now. And then things like why did they use the trains, or was the train brand new? And build a context by which you talk about why they migrated where they did, and etc. DNA isn't just a science, it's a superpower. Explain DNA and ethnicity results for a fun superhero style way. There are a lot of people out there that have tattoos. And I often ask the people that I see, what do they mean to you? And my daughters have tattoos. And at the time I was, I want to say maybe 60, and it kind of, sparked an interest. But I couldn't find something. I didn't want to have a bunch of ink, and I couldn't find one symbol that was going to make a difference. There just wasn't one symbol out there. I could have a butterfly, okay. I could have all kinds of things, a heart, whatever. It dawned on me when I was 72 and I got my DNA results back, and now DNA results are really good. They can tell you which countries your parents came from, how your DNA mixed with them, what your traits are, and whether they came from your mother or your father. But the one thing it honed in on is that I was Celtic Irish. So I went and got my ink. I don't think you can see that very well. But I got the cross, the Irish cross, the Celtic cross, actually. And that's the only tattoo I have, but I believe that symbolizes what I'm made of. And that's important to me. So DNA can tell you a lot. For me, it grounded me. Who am I? Where did I come from? And it took a while because I've been working on genealogy since 1990s. So it took me a while to find out, exactly where I fit in, how I fit in, what I'm made of, and it's a progress. It's a project in continuing, but nonetheless, I was able to do that. And the mix of the DNA is unique to them, and how the family tree connects to the bigger story of the human history. So those are some things that I can give you to take away from genealogy, and things that I've learned, and stories that I can tell. What are your stories? What can you tell? Have you been on this journey yet? Are you interested in going? Come along. And if you have any questions at all of anything, let me know, and I'll see if I can help you. Anyway, you guys take care. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and I'll see you next week.